What's up, dude? Yo, so I don't usually talk a lot about personal stuff, but I'm super happy about this one. Michelle got honored. Um, this organization called Twice, which is weird because this is the first time they're doing something. So she's getting the Twice Award once.
Well, there's always next year.
Well, then she'll get it technically twice to the second power. Twice introduces its first ever Powerful Women in Consumer Electronics and Women on the Rise honorees. And she was listed as one of the 2025 Powerful Women in Consumer Electronics. She's an honoree there. So there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13 women. And one of them happens to be Michelle. And her work over at Panasonic in the consumer division. Super proud of her. That's awesome.
Yep.
She doesn't listen to the show, so I can say whatever the hell I want about her.
That would be dangerous, my friend, because how do you know she doesn't listen to the show?
Oh, because I manage her phone with all my tools. I know which apps she has. Near.
Level up your email domain security and deliverability. Reduce business email compromise and reel in that pesky email phishing. Make DMARC a new revenue stream for your MSP. Becoming a managed service provider partner with EasyDMARC is a great opportunity for your business to boost sales and decrease risk. Your customers need DMARC. Your job is to let them know that their email domain might be at risk. Find out more today at atmsp.link/EasyDMARC. That's atmsp.link/EasyDMARC. Traditional vulnerability management is outdated, disruptive, and costly. Nodeware offers MSPs a better solution. Continuous 24/7 vulnerability scanning, even during business hours, with no network impact. Deploy it remotely via software agents and sensors, eliminating the need for extra hardware and on-site visits, saving you time and money. The multi-tenant dashboard with built-in remediation guidance and patch management makes it easy to identify, manage, and remediate vulnerabilities quickly, helping you better protect your clients. Visit atmsp.link/nodeware to learn more.
What's up, everybody? Welcome to the All Things MSP Podcast. I'm your host, Justin Esgar, and with me always is the Iron Man himself, Mr. Eric Anthony. Pew, pew!
Is that supposed to like link into an Iron Maiden joke? Like,
no, it's Iron Man. It's Iron Man with
Iron
a long
Man
name.
and Iron Mane. Okay,
should I have gone with the Winter Shaver?
No, because that would be not appropriate, right?
Well, no, you shaved in the winter. That was the last time you did it.
Oh, that's true. That is true. I think Iron Mane is probably more timely relevant with Iron Heart just coming out.
Oh yeah, I have to watch that.
I have not watched it yet. Looking forward to it.
We just finished The Bear season 4, which, by the way, if you currently run an MSP and you want to have agita every minute of a TV show, watch The Bear and compare it to your business, because it's so directly correspondent. And I keep talking about this unreasonable hospitality thing, which is about a restaurant and how I want to tie it to my MSP. Like, we did 2 or 3 episodes a night. We start TV earlier because one of my kids is gone for summer camp. And every night I would go to bed just being like, everything sucks, man. Like, I couldn't. Michelle was like, we have to finish the season so you stop being a depressive a-hole about things. Great show, though. The other option was Beard Pool, but I didn't think that was as like... I should have gone with Winter Shaver. Was pretty good. Iron Mane, powered by a reactor and barbershop neglect. I love that ChatGPT gives me like pieces about this.
Further explanation. That is great. Although I don't know where my arc reactor is currently.
Thanos the Untrimmed collected the Infinity Stones, but forgot to buy a Philips Norelco.
Funny enough, I do actually own one. Currently not using it, obviously.
Well, if I wanted to promote Michelle and Panasonic better, you should get the all-in-one beard trimmer. That's what I use. It's really a weird product, though. I know we're talking about, again, we don't talk about MSP stuff on All Things MSP. The all-in-one trimmer is good because it literally is like, it's got different heads. So it could be like a beard trimmer, a hair trimmer, a nose trimmer. But here's the weird thing. It also has a toothbrush attachment, which like all the reviews are like, gross.
Yeah. Like, no.
But it really doesn't matter. It's not like that. It's not the part that shaves your head. That part comes off. So you just have like basically a vibrating base, very similar to any other electric toothbrush. And you put that on. But I'm like just conceptually thinking about the fact that like I shave my face and my head with the same thing that I'm going to then brush my teeth with. It's just gross.
Oh, sorry about that, folks. And if you just watched it on YouTube, it was even worse / better.
YouTube.com/@allthingsmsp. All right, let's get into some tech topics today. Eric and I wanted to do a little bit of not a refresher course, but we've been watching the news. We're watching, we're in the communities, and we're seeing like a nice uptick in new MSPs coming about. And if you're new to the industry, and now you're new to the All Things MSP community, wonderful, welcome. The pool is warm, mainly because there's a lot of pee in it.
Can you tell we're recording this the day before a holiday?
I used to have a sign that said "Welcome to our ool." Notice there's no pee in it. Please keep it that way. But if you are new to the industry, welcome. If you've been a long time a member of this community, or you've been in the industry, since the days of the AS 400 or whatever that thing was called, like this might be a good refresher course for you. We wanted to kind of start with a couple of like headline topics here this week about how to get started. And we're actually going to make this a very intentional two-parter to finish it up. So welcome to week 1 of Getting Started in MSP.
As exciting as that sounds. And I think it is. Now, I do want to preface this with one of the reasons why I want to talk about this is because I have seen an uptick in new MSPs. Strangely enough, specifically in franchises, which I think is cool. There's several of them about in the industry, and I think most of them are doing a really good job. But I think I'm going to talk about why I think this is actually happening. And I think that for better or for worse, you have all of these MSPs who are going through M&A, they're growing, they're getting bigger. But I think if you look at them, in order to generate the profits that they want to generate and be the businesses that they want to be, as they are going up market in their size, they are also going after bigger clients. So they're going up market as well. And I think that's creating this void for I'll call it micro SMB market, that is driving the need for new small MSPs.
It's funny that you mentioned this because literally, like, I think I sent you a screenshot of this. Somebody reached out to me on LinkedIn saying that they had recently found the podcast. He called it a pod, which I know Michelle hates. He found the pod, loves to connect. And they just signed an agreement to franchise Team Logic IT in Pittsburgh. He says he's a 26-year-old tech vet, recently riffed, no desire to go back to corporate. They consumed 7 hours of this podcast. I am so sorry. It was a travel weekend. And one was about the need for MSPs still today. So my biggest concern was saturation. And he had asked me, do you both feel that MSPs can thrive today? My market is SMB, defined as 10 to 100 employees. And I said, yeah, I do. I said, but you have to make sure that you're not a commodity. And we'll get into this a little more in a little bit. But we talked about this before, where I was like, don't be the person who just handles Microsoft. Like, build your niche, be special, do something that stands out. And he's like, yeah, he's like, being different. It's difficult to stand out in today's world. I have no delusion. There are 10,000s of me out there. But in terms of technical knowledge and skill set, but there's only one me, and you back that to your brand. So like, Brian Eduardo, thanks for joining and listening to the pod. And if you and your wife can handle 7 hours of, it's more power to you, buddy. But yeah, like to your point, there's a lot of people I know, like you said, have moved with the continuum of the businesses, right? Like, don't get me wrong, I know plenty of people who still only do home users, still only do micro business or whatever.
Right.
But there's a good amount that, like, when they started out and they were a 1 or 2 person business, now that MSP is a 10-person business, and instead of handling clients that are 1 or 2 person businesses, now they're handling clients that are 20, 30, 40, 50-person businesses, leaving those 10-person businesses behind. Like, the amount of people who reach out to me that are like, hey, I'm an entrepreneur, I need some IT help. And I'm like, listen, we only work with businesses. And they're like, I have a business. And I'm like, we only work with businesses that are over 10 people. And they were like, oh, well, who can you recommend me to? And I'm like, I don't know, who's new that can work with you. But like, whilst the economy is what the economy is, there's still a plethora of new businesses that are coming out also that these people need help. So there's a good opportunity here for new MSPs, new ITSPs, new IT providers, whatever you want to call yourself, to support them and build a functional business. But, we've talked about this a lot over the last 2+ years. And I talk about this all the time at ACES. Like, you have to remember that you're starting a business. And let's get into a little bit of this, which is, why are you doing this?
Right? Yeah, because we don't know. Like, why would you want to put yourself through this? No.
I ask myself that every time you and I get on StreamYard.
Wait, what?
No, I'm kidding. I love
you. Because there are a lot of reasons people do this, right? And they range from, I just got riffed, or, there are other situations where you're just looking for a different lifestyle, or you're looking to make your mark in the world and grow a huge business and make a lot of money. So I think motivation does matter here. And I think it's something that you need to take into account when you're looking at why you're starting a business, not just an MSP business, but a business period.
Yeah.
And so is it for freedom or is it for fortune? I think that's probably the 2 basic categories that you end up in, because you either want freedom from a day job, or freedom from a boss, or freedom from a paycheck, which I actually don't recommend. But, or you're looking to grow something that's larger than what you can do working for somebody else.
I will say that, they're like the good, better, the good, fast, cheap thing where you can only pick 2. The freedom versus fortune, unfortunately, is a pick one, right? Like,
right.
There is no way in hell you can have both until you've done one. And what I mean by that is, like, you can have freedom after you build fortune, or you can have freedom now, but you're never going to build a fortune, right? Like, know that's true of any business, right? But even at that, if you want to build a fortune, like, people talk about the wealthiest people that are out there, all the time. The fact of the matter is, like, if you really look at it, like, a lot of them put a lot of sweat equity into things. Like, I know we don't, everybody wants to bash on, like, Elon or Bezos or even Vaynerchuk, but, like, the fact of the matter is, if you really look at what they've done and what they built, and sure, maybe their business practices today aren't that great, but, like, they put in sweat equity.
Yeah. They built a fortune in order to buy freedom.
Correct.
Now, I would say that in a lot of cases, they are probably not that free at this point. I know that all 3 of them are still working very hard. And yes, they do have a degree of freedom because they can make a lot of their own choices. But when you are operating something that large, I really think that you are a slave to that thing, that entity that you are growing. In Elon's case, he has got multiples, right?
Yeah.
So I think that there is this case where freedom looks different for different people. And so some people can buy their freedom with a small fortune, and some people think that they need a large fortune to have that freedom. And by the way, neither one of them are wrong. It's their point of view and what freedom looks like for them. And this is where a lifestyle MSP business comes in, right?
And so, it's funny because I talk about the lifestyle thing a lot, right? A lot of people that I know got into IT because they were in IT and they just rolled into a business because that's what they knew, right? And there are a lot of my good friends that are in IT companies. They run small businesses. They are happy with what they're doing. They're happy with what they have. They're happy with their freedom, right? Like I know a guy out in California, my friend Jeremy. He only takes care of home users. I think I mentioned before on the show, like he only allows them to he only takes like texts and email, right? There's no phone calls. He always does remote, but will sometimes go in, very rarely go in. But and he only works like Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday or something like this, right? And he makes his clients play in his sandbox, and he has a lot of freedom, but he is content with the house that he has and the life that he leads. He's not, on a phone call with me being like, oh, Justin, I wish I had a private jet like you want. He knows what he wants out of life, and he's happy with that. And so that's, again, like you said, not wrong. Like that's totally okay. And that fits his bill. So if you're going to start a business, understand why, right? What's your purpose here? Are you looking for freedom? Are you looking for fortune? Are you looking to drive a passion here, right? Going back to the bear, anyone who works in a restaurant is a psychopath, right? But the reason they work in restaurants is because they love creating something that appeases, that makes other people happy, right? Like when you make a dish, and I keep in mind, like I love cooking. I would never work in a restaurant, right? But last night I went all out and I made this whole I took a piece of corn and I juiced it and I turned it into a pudding and I served it over some roast corn with like a biscuit and some like Mexican chicken and like the whole nine, right? And I watched Michelle and my daughter Simone eat it, and they were just like so happy with like how good it came out. Like that's why you work in a restaurant. That's a passion fit. But like it's the same thing here. Like I ask a lot of my members on my team, like what motivates you, and what I get from my top brass of my company is they like making clients happy, which I think is true for a lot of MSPs. I don't think a lot of MSPs get in the business for not making clients happy because then you wouldn't have any clients, right? But like, what is it really about making those clients happy? Like, there's got to be more to it. Like, I tend to say, I really like helping other companies grow, which is why I do the podcast, which is why I do ACEs, which is why I do consulting, both IT and business. Like I've consulted for companies that are not in tech before, and watching them grow and becoming these amazing companies, knowing that I had something to do with it, that like filled my emotional bucket.
Right. So I think starting with why, is a great, there's a whole book on that, by the way.
Yeah.
And that everyone who is in business should read. But I think there's a practical side to starting a business as well. And that is making sure that you can make enough money doing this to support your lifestyle. And I think in terms of getting started, there's two components to this, right? It's having enough money during your ramp up period, I'll call it, to sustain yourself, your family, whatever obligations you already have there. Mm-hmm. And then knowing how long it's going to take for that ramp up period to make sure that you have enough money for it. But then also, what does the business look like as an end point if you're just going for lifestyle? For I have to have this much revenue, I have to have this much profit. This means I have to have this many clients of this size in order to do that.
Yeah.
Now, if you're looking at it from the fortune side of things that we talked about, you're looking at a consistent growth after you've covered your basics. But I think when you're starting out, you need to worry about covering those basics first.
Yeah. I mean, I remember when I first started, and granted, we're talking about 17 years ago, which sounds like a lot, but in reality isn't. And I remember when I wanted to start my business, my family happened to have been going on vacation and just took me along, like with my parents and my sister or whatever. And we were at the dinner table, and my mom was very nervous about me starting my own business, because no one in my grandfather had his own company, and then my dad kind of had his own company, but not really. But my mom was really nervous and was like, "How are you going to like? Can you make enough this year to like pay your rent and buy food and have a life?" Because keep in mind, I was single. I had a studio apartment on the Upper East Side of Manhattan, and I had to get stuff done. And like that first year, like, yes, I'm not gonna lie, my mom did help out like those first couple months, but within 6 months, I was fine, right? And in that first year, I made enough money to be able to like keep everything going. And that was to pay off my tools and to take a paycheck and to pay my rent and buy food. Like I wasn't extravagantly buying, 3 Michelin star restaurant dinners every night with like duck a la cherry or whatever. But like, once in a while I'd eat like, from the garbage Mexican place next door or whatever. But understanding what that looked like, because I think a lot of people now when they start a business, they look at the big one that comes up a lot is the tech stack, right? Like, what do I need in my tech stack to provide a good service? You need nothing. You need nothing in your tech stack to get started, because what you think you need, and I'm being a little facetious here. What you think you need to be able to have ins with every product, to sell every product to every client. You don't need that right now, right? Buy the product when the client starts paying for it. Like maybe, yes, you need to get into an MDM because you want to start doing MDM work. That's pretty much a baseline. And get in with like a company like Pax8 so you can resell licenses when they come up. But you don't need to like dive in and buy 1,000 licenses of XYZ product or like get in on all these things. Like we recently just started 17 years into the business. We just recently started selling Blackpoint Cyber as a product to customers. I didn't even know about them or care about them or whatever until my customer needed something and paid in advance, like even a week in advance, so I can go buy it and then get into it. Like, I think a lot of people get scared off by like, what do I need to get started from a cash thing? Because they think it's such an injection of cash. It's really not.
Yeah, because most of what you actually need are going to be those things that you just described, the things that you're actually reselling to clients.
Yeah.
And there are plenty of vendors out there who will go month to month and only charge for what you use. And yes, it may not be exactly the tool you want to use, but it's the tool that you can afford now. And by the way, most of them do 80 to 90% of what all of them do.
Yeah.
Now, that begs the question, like, do you need a PSA to start out with? No, you don't. Do you need QuickBooks to start out with? No, you don't.
No.
You can type up an invoice with Word. You can. So maybe, just maybe, you need Microsoft 365 or Google Workspace. But even then, you could be using a personal Gmail account and have enough tools to run the business on.
I'm gonna say don't use a personal Gmail account if you want to look professional. Here's what you need.
Agreed.
Right? You need a domain. That's $9. You need a website, which if you buy the domain from like GoDaddy or whatever, you have the web hosting already caked in, and you can build a one pager pretty easily. So we'll make that maybe $10. You need an email address, which if you do Google or Microsoft, let's call it $15. So what are we at? We're at $35 so far. And then you need Stripe, which charges you when the credit card comes in. So like, what more do you need to start? You don't. Like, it's very easy to get into this business and look around at all the competitors and be like, well, I'm not going to look as professional as they are because they're using, a PSA, or they're writing, they have a full thing and they know their EBITDA, whatever. Like, that's just imposter syndrome setting in for you. You don't need any of it.
And quite honestly, you're not going to get the kind of clients that they get.
Correct.
Because they're after larger clients who have those larger brands larger reputation. Whereas I think starting out, the better place for somebody to start out is in the micro SMB space, where guess what? They're running on, a paperclip budget just like you are.
Yeah.
And so it's not out of the realm of where you should be to look like them and act like them, because guess what? They're your clients. And so they're not going to care that you look like them. In fact, it's actually going to create an affinity.
Right, because you want to be able to feel their pain. Like I do that a lot with my clients now. Even to today, where like I was just talking to someone the other day. Oh, I remember I was talking to a client who runs a nonprofit inside of another nonprofit. It's weird. And this person has had their nonprofit for 20 years, right? They do a conference every 3 years. And they were like, it's time we grow up. We need these things. Because they're still using like a personal Dropbox that like 4 people share, and they have GoDaddy email. And she's like, I want to grow it up. And I was like, and I said to them, hey, listen, I can help you with all the tech, but I also have knowledge in these other things. I can relate to you about running a conference, or I can relate to you about starting a community, or I can relate to you about, keeping people interested and stuff like that. It goes beyond the tech. So to your point of like, if your clients are on a shoestring budget and you're on a shoestring budget, you can go commiserate with one another because you can understand where they're coming from and not be an a-hole about it to them, right? Whereas if someone came to me and was like, I want to be able to manage 50 computers, but I can't pay you more than $10 a computer, I could be like, no, because I'm at a level where I can't like feel for them. But there are people who can.
Yeah. And I think there's actually a more practical side to it too. And that is, you mentioned it, is you're feeling the same pain, right?
Yeah.
So you can take, well, I solved my pain this way, and so I can solve your pain the same way I solved my pain. And I think from a practical standpoint, it helps to be in that environment as your clients are, especially when you're just starting out, because you may have started out in the IT world in a large company, right? Doing IT, you might have been an IT manager or a CIO, even whatever. But that environment is much different than the micro SMB market. Mm-hmm. And so having to live in that micro SMB market yourself as a new business, you can more aptly help them with the solutions for their business, not just the IT.
Right. And your past experiences help foster those relationships, right? I have another nonprofit, like when COVID started, remember COVID? When COVID started, right, our conference had to switch from a live show to a virtual show in a month and a half. And one of my other nonprofits who has a conference, a much bigger conference than ACES, like a month after ours, like I was going through all of these things and I was reporting back to them what I was going through to keep them from having to go through it, right? Because like a nonprofit having to figure out how to change their entire thing, like I was trying to save them trouble by going through all this BS myself. It has nothing to do with technology. I mean, a little bit, but like that's not what we're hired to do there. My point is that like your past experiences, whether at another company or even as if you're just out of college and you want to start an MSP, like I'm thinking about some of the young people, like you've had jobs in the past, even if you were a server at a restaurant or you worked at the mall or like whatever, you have these other past experiences of which to lean on to empathize, not sympathize, but empathize with these smaller customers. So there's always that. One thing I like to do also, you had mentioned earlier about figuring out your numbers, where you need to be revenue versus profit, because we had started talking about stack and what you need to spend into. I'm horrible with math. I can't do it. But, and I'm going to say something here, and you're never going to hold this against, you're going to hold this against me for the rest of my life. There are tools out there like ChatGPT that can do math better than you and I. And normally the math is not wrong. Normally, I have caught it make mistakes because of the way I explain things, and I had it like recheck itself. But for simple things, go to ChatGPT and say, I want to make $150,000. As an MSP, tell it that you're an MSP. It helps. I want to make $150,000 this year. I'm going to charge X per computer per month. How many computers do I need to deal with? How many clients do I need to deal with? What kind of avenues should I, what kind of industry should I look at, knowing that I'm a one person thing? Like, you can get ideas for what your numbers need to look like from the robots to like at least guide you in the right direction, right? Because like you can sit and try to figure that stuff out, and maybe you're good at math. Great, do it yourself. But like understanding those numbers really comes into how to understanding the bigger picture thing, and then you can backtrack from there when you need to invest in a tool, a second person, sales, legal, whatever. You can backtrack along that pathline. So if you draw out this roadmap of 0 to, I'm saying $100,000 or $150,000 is your goal, right? There's this pathway, and you can literally make like markers on it, January, February, March, April, May, June, whatever, and say, this is the point where I'm making enough money and I have $7,000 and I can go pay Brad Gross. I now have a profit of $9,000 and I can go invest in, going to a conference or whatever, right? Make a map, draw a picture. I mean, in all fairness, you don't have a lot of other stuff to do right now. Make a map, draw a picture. Sorry, it was a dick thing to say. I apologize. But like, you can build that stuff up to figure out how you can sustain your lifestyle along with your new business.
Yep. So that is about as much time as we have for this episode, because we're trying to keep these a little bit more digestible for you folks. So join us next week when we start diving into the services and your tech stack, and probably the thing that you guys want to hear about the most, because it seems to be one of the biggest topics in this getting started and getting your MSP. And that is, how do you start getting clients? So, Justin, anything else before we let them go for this week?
It's a cliffhanger episode.
Cliffhanger.
Yeah, something like that. If you're not already a member, check us out at facebook.com/groups/all things MSP to talk about your business, talk about where you're at with your, if you're starting off. This is a great place to come. There's a giant community. There's at the time of this recording, there's 6,500 people in there that are all there to help you grow your business or answer questions you have, including Eric and myself. So check us out, facebook.com/groups/all things MSP. Watch all this in YouTube glory at youtube.com/all things MSP. Like, subscribe, ring the bell. Follow us on all your favorite podcasting tools. And if you got something out of this episode, let us know. We want to know. Leave a review on any of your favorite podcasting tools, the YouTube, drop a note on Facebook. Find Eric and I are on LinkedIn. Like, literally, we're everywhere. You can't miss us. Yeah.
Sometimes they want to, though.
I know, but we're going to keep coming back. All right. That's Eric. I'm Justin. Bye.
Thank you for listening or watching the All Things MSP podcast. If you liked this episode, go ahead and give us a thumbs up, hit that like button, and consider subscribing to catch all our weekly episodes. And from your host extraordinaire, Justin Esgar, and myself, Eric Anthony, your humble producer and All Things MSP founder, thank you very much for spending your time with us. If you are not aware, All Things MSP started as a Facebook group and now supports over 6,000 members. We also have a LinkedIn page for those of you who don't do Facebook, and make sure to check out our YouTube channel for even more content. A special thank you to our elite sponsor, CoreView, helping you manage your Microsoft 365 tenants instead of them managing you. And a big thank you to our premier sponsors, EasyDmark, Helped, GoZinta, MoveBot, and Nodeware. And thank you to the rest of our sponsors. Without sponsors, we could not do what we do for the MSP community. Please consider checking them out. The All Things MSP podcast is a BizPow LLC production. The views and opinions of the hosts and guests are their own and do not reflect the thoughts and opinions of any employer, vendor, sponsor, or random taxi driver in the Metro DC area. Be sure to join us next week for another exciting episode.